sets there. Got a lot of blood in there and kind of set us up for the second movement. From there, we went to rows. Did it on the T-bar row. So the version of it has kind of become more popular with John Meadows. He named it. So I definitely want to give credit to John. It's a Meadows row kind of adaptation that he does, and I've tried it a little bit recently, and I like it because as opposed to a dumbbell, I feel like there's a little bit more control. I can control the movement a little bit more, but at the same time get a good stretch. And the way that I can grip the end of the bar allows me to have a pretty loose grip with my V straps that I actually can just really pull with my elbows and get a good squeeze. So I'm not so much worried about holding the weight and my grip getting tired as much as I can just focus on getting my elbows up high, squeezing and contracting my back. So that's the reason why I like to do that as a variation to a typical dumbbell row. From there, we moved on to the high hammer rows. I like to grip the outside grips of the handle a little bit. I like to stretch a little bit more, and I feel it doing a little bit a wider version of that. The way I had the seat, the intention was for me to squeeze kind of my middle to upper back, and so that was really the intention of hitting that part of my back. And again, not super heavy, trying to keep the chest against the pad and really getting your elbows back. So getting a good stretch, lengthening the muscle, and then shortening it up as much as possible, getting the elbows back, but at the same time pulling your chest forward. So that was our next movement. From there, we went to a superset with seated cable rolls combined with the cable pull downs or pullovers. And so the variation that I do on the cable rolls, especially towards the end of a workout, is instead of putting your feet high up on the platform and really going heavy, either having your feet planted on the floor or having them really low on the platform. And that really allows you to kind of take the leg drive out of it, takes kind of the lower back movement out of it, so you're really just isolating and squeezing your back. So the weight on this is not so much of an issue. It's more about getting a good contraction and a good squeeze. And so then combining that with the cable pull downs just allows me to just pump as much blood into the muscle as possible. At that point in the workout, we've already done a few movements, and so it's more about contraction and continuing to get blood into the muscle as opposed to trying to move the weight, a really heavy weight at that point. From there, we did some shrugs. Shrugs I usually throw in either with back or with shoulders. This week, threw them in with back. So did a dumbbell shrugs, which I do every so often. I hadn't done them in a while, so I threw those in. And as you see in there, I'm doing some holds at the top, maybe a one or two second contraction at the top for at least the first several reps. And so again, I like doing a little bit higher reps on those as opposed to 6, 8, 10 reps and just kind of a really explosive shrug. I like to actually control the weight the whole time, and it tends to work better for me. I feel it better doing it that way. So that was the method behind that. And then we finished up with Smith machine deadlifts. Really, it was mainly meant for contraction, kind of like a hyperextension as a variation to that. So the weight was pretty light, so it wasn't so much like a rack deadlift, which I will do maybe every other week. It was more for just really squeezing and contracting your lower back. And so, not going really over 2 plates on it, but nice controlled movements at the top, squeezing the elbows back, and just at that point, it's just finishing off. So that was the last movement for back. From there, we moved on to some biceps. Biceps, I usually throw in a couple movements on back day, and then I also may do back or bis and tris by themselves on a different day. But for today, we started out with just the one-arm preacher curl machine. I like to start out with that just because I like to do kind of a unilateral movement, really warm up each arm. And so did a few warm-up sets and then did 1 or 2 working sets before we moved on to the next movement, which was incline dumbbell curls. Another variation of dumbbell curls, I tend to do standing quite a bit, so mixing it up, doing the incline and actually doing both arms at the same time was just different variation today. So I didn't need a lot of weight. Again, it's because of the isolation that you get when you're leaning back. You're not able to cheat, you're not able to get any momentum, so it's all about just squeezing and contracting the muscle, and you get a great stretch from that angle as well. I switched it up after a couple sets and did a set of standing dumbbell curls, but the variation for me from what I typically do is The fact that I brought, as I'm bringing up and contracting, I actually bring my elbow up a little bit higher and get a really hard contraction at the very top, and then start to release the weight